Welcome everybody to It Moves, a horror game. Um, but wait a minute. Crap. Okay. Yeah, let's try this again. Welcome to the It Moves by SnowOwl. I'm adjusting my brightness. I guess that'll do. Bedtime. Bedtime is supposed to be a happy event for a tired child. Yeah, right. Bedtime was fucking annoying. For me, it was terrifying. While some children might complain about being put to bed before they got finished watching a film or playing their favorite video game, when I was a child, nighttime was something to truly fear. Somewhere in the back of my mind it still is. This is me. It's a wolf. It's a bunk bed. I sleep in the top. Mr. Teddy. Full of toys and stuff. Poster from a movie I got from my brother. A table. Wow. I cannot prove that what happened to me was objectively real, but I can swear that what I experienced was genuine horror. A fear which in my life, I'm glad to say, has never been equaled. I will relate it to you all now as best as I can. Make of it what you will, but I'll be glad to just get it off my chest. Flowers. Mom put these here. A picture of some mountains. This is my brother's room. He told me yesterday to keep out of the room that we both had shared until then. A picture of a man standing around. I think it's Dad when he was younger. I can't remember exactly when it started, but my apprehension towards falling asleep seemed to correspond with my being moved into a room of my own. Nothing too interesting. Mom told me not to touch her stuff, especially this stuff. We know what's in that drawer. The man with the mustache. Just a bunch of clothes in here. Ventilation, I think Mom said this is. This is my mother. How do you like your new room? Soon you'll be sleeping alone for the first time. Shoes, not very interesting. This is my father. I was 8 years old at the time, and until then I had shared a room quite happily with my older brother. As is perfectly understandable for a boy 5 years my senior, my brother eventually wished for a room of his own, and as a result, I was given the room at the back of the house. As my brother was given a new bed, I was given the bunk beds which we used to share. While I was upset about sleeping on my own, I was excited at the thought of being able to sleep in the top bunk, which seemed far more adventurous to me. Don't go pulling out too much stuff now, it's bedtime soon. Out of my way, douche. Alright, it's bedtime. Already? Yes, adults need their sleep, you see. You'll be sleeping alone for the first time. You excited? Yes, Mom. Alright, I'm turning off the lights. Good night. Good night. Okay. pot and some ragged cloth. I wonder what's cooking. Stalking is such a strong word. I prefer to think of it more as intense research on an individual. By the way, your missing sock is under your bed. With me. Just kidding. A cold, unwelcoming breeze comes from the bottom of the stairs. Weird mushroom. Looks poisonous. How the hell would you know? You're a kid. There's red liquid seeping out from the mushroom hat. Balls. Oh, come on, dude. Come on. Damn it, I'll have to look it up. There, I figured it out. Phew, I bitch, that was annoying. Slowly. Walking slower. Faster. Mom, I had a bad dream. Mom. had a bad dream. Sweetie, what's wrong? I had a bad dream. Aw, that's too bad, sweetie. I'll be up in a minute and we can eat breakfast together. Alright, hurry up. Go change your clothes and I'll be right there. And so another day started. It was a day of little importance to our story. I won't bother you with details. The one thing I remember is that even though I played with friends like I always did, I somehow still felt lonely. I didn't enter my new room until later that night. It was time to go to sleep again. Oh, this is some Silent Hill shit right here. Damn it. Fuck. Anacorp? What's that? Some kind of machinery. Looks like a fan. Instructions on how to use a fire extinguisher. Nothing of interest, I think. A poster for some concert. It looks old. Oh, Jesus Christ. That's creepy as hell. Ventilation, maybe? The air is still stuffy, though. Oh my god, quit looking at me! A wanted poster. Oh my god, I don't want to do this. No, I hate creepy faces. I don't have anywhere else to go. I've explored everywhere. I can't look. Oh. When you awaken from a deep sleep to something moving or stirring, it can take a few moments for you to truly understand what is happening. The fog of sleep hangs over your eyes and ears even when lucid. Something was moving, there was no doubt about that. At first I wasn't sure what it was. Everything was dark, almost pitch black, but there was enough light creeping in from outside to outline the room. Two thoughts appeared in my mind almost simultaneously. The first was that my parents were in bed because the rest of the house lay both in darkness and silence. The second thought turned to the noise, a noise which had obviously woken me. That was it, bedsheets rustling in the dark and someone breathing, as if some disturbed sleeper was attempting to get all too comfortable in the bottom bunk. I lay there in disbelief, thinking that the noise was either my imagination, or perhaps just my pet cat finding somewhere comfortable to spend the night. It was then that I noticed my door, shut as it had been as I'd fallen asleep. Perhaps my mum had checked in on me and the cat had sneaked into my room then. Yes, that must have been it. I turned to face the wall, closing my eyes in the vain hope that I could fall back to sleep. As I moved, the rustling noise from underneath me ceased. I thought that I must have disturbed my cat, but quickly I realized that the visitor in the bottom bunk was much less mundane than my pet trying to sleep, and much more sinister. As if alerted to and disgruntled by my presence, the disturbed sleeper began to toss and turn violently, like a child having a tantrum in their bed. I could hear the sheets twist and turn with increasing ferocity. Fear then gripped me, not like the subtle sense of unease I had experienced earlier, but now potent and terrifying. My heart raced as my eyes panicked. Scanning the almost impenetrable darkness, I let out a cry. As most young boys do, I instinctively shouted at my mother. I could hear something stir on the other side of the house, but as I began to breathe a sigh of relief that my parents were coming to save me, the bunk bed suddenly started to shake violently as if gripped by an earthquake scraping against the wall. I could hear the sheets below me thrashing around as if tormented by malice. I did not want to jump down to safety as I feared the thing in the bottom bunk would reach out and grab me, pulling me into the darkness, so I stayed there, white knuckles clenching my own blanket like a shroud of protection. The wait seemed like an eternity. "What's wrong? Did you have a bad dream?" I cried, and my mother consoled me, tears of fear followed by relief streaming down my face. Yet, through all the horror and relief, I did not tell her why I was so upset. I could not explain it, but it was as though whatever had been in that bunk would return if I even so much as spoke of it. Whether that was the truth, I do not know, but as a child I felt as if that unseen menace remained close, listening. My mother lay in the empty bunk, promising to stay there until morning. I remember the next day wanting to go anywhere, be anywhere, but in that suffocating room. It was a Saturday, and I played outside, quite happily with my friends. Although our house was not large, we were lucky to have a long sloping garden in the back. We played there often as much of it was overgrown, and we could hide in the bushes, climb in the huge sycamore tree which towered above all else, and easily imagine ourselves in the throes of a grand adventure. As fun as it all was, occasionally my eye would turn to that small window in my room, ordinary, slight, and innocuous, but for me, that thin boundary was a looking glass into a strange, cold pocket of dread. Outside, the lush green surroundings of our garden filled with the smiling faces of my friends. Inside, the feeling of something in that room, watching me play, waiting for the night when I would be alone, eagerly filled with hate. It may sound strange to you, but by the time my parents ushered me back into that room for the night, I said nothing. I didn't protest. I didn't even make an excuse as to why I couldn't sleep there. I still felt that this thing would be enraged if I so much as spoke of it. Another night came. A banner on a long pole. It's too old and torn to make out details. A huge skull. The door is firmly shut. It's like a Halloween mask with the flashing eyes. picture of some kind of green landscape. The picture is in too bad shape to make out any details. A large fan circulating the stuffy air. Some kind of machine. Some kind of altar. Hello. Hello. Looks like something used to pour out of these. It's almost like the lights on the runway at airports. What the? Where am I going? Oh, not that way. What was that? How are you? Oh, I'm very well, thank you. A bit annoyed at the tediousness of this, but, you know, whatever. Creepy mask. No! I don't like scary faces! I don't like them, Sam I am. No. Fucking A. Yeah, I knew that was gonna happen. There's a red liquid pouring out. What the hell? Okay. Oh, you freaky bag thing. Jesus. It's funny how certain words can remain hidden from your mind, no matter how blatant or obvious they are. One word came to me that night, lying there in the darkness alone, frightened, aware of a rotten change in the atmosphere, a thickening of the air as though something had displaced it. As I heard the first casual twists of the bed sheets below, the first anxious increase of my heartbeat at the realization that something was once again in the bottom bunk, that word, a word which had been sent into exile, filtered up through my consciousness, breaking free of all repression, gasping for air, screaming, etching and carving itself into my mind. Ghost. As this thought came to me, I noticed that my unwelcome visitor had ceased moving. The bedsheets lay calm and dormant, but they had been replaced by something far more hideous. A slow, rhythmic, rasping breath heaved and escaped from the thing below. I could imagine its chest rising and falling with each sordid, wheezing, and garbled breath. I shuddered and hoped beyond all hope that it would leave without occurrence. The house lay, as it had the previous night, in a thick blanket of darkness. Silence prevailed, all but for the perverted breath of my, as yet, unseen bunkmate. I lay there terrified. I just wanted this thing to go, to leave me alone. What did it want? Then something unmistakably chilling transpired. It moved. It moved in a way different from before. When it threw itself around in the bottom bunk, it seemed unrestrained, without purpose, almost animalistic. For that thing lying there in the darkness, that thing which seemed intent on terrorizing a young boy, calmly and nonchalantly sat up. Its labored breathing had become louder. Now only a mattress and a few flimsy wooden slats separated my body from the unearthly breath below. I lay there, my eyes filled with tears. A fear which mere words cannot relate to you or anyone else coursed through my veins. I would not have believed that this fear could have been heightened, but I was so wrong. I imagined what this thing would look like, sitting there listening from below my mattress, hoping to catch the slightest hint that I was awake. Imagination then turned to an unnerving reality. It began to touch the wooden slats which my mattress sat on. It seemed to caress them carefully, running what I imagined to be fingers and hands across the surface of the wall. Then, with great force, it prodded angrily between two slats into the mattress. Even through the padding, it felt as someone had viciously stuck their fingers into my side. I let out an almighty cry, and the wheezing, shaking, and moving thing in the bunk below replied in kind by violently vibrating the bunk as it had done the night before. A small face of paint powdered onto my blanket from the wall as the frame of the bed scraped along it, backwards and forwards. Once again I was bathed in light, and there stood my mother, loving, caring as she always was, with a comforting hug and calming words which eventually subdued my hysteria. Of course she asked what was wrong, but I could not say. I dared not say. I simply said one word over and over and over again. Nightmare. This pattern of events continued for weeks, if not months. Night after night I would awaken to the sound of rustling sheets. Each time I would scream so as not to provide this abomination with time to prod and feel for me. With each cry the bed would shake violently, stopping with the arrival of my mother, who would spend the rest of the night in the bottom bunk, seemingly unaware of the sinister force torturing her son nightly. Along the way I managed to feign illness a few times and come up with other less than truthful reasons for sleeping in my parents' bed. But more often than not, I would be alone for the first few hours of each night in that place. The room where the light from outside did not sit right, alone with that thing. With time you can become desensitized to almost anything, no matter how horrific. I had come to realize that, for whatever reason, the thing could not harm me when my mother was present. I am sure the same would have been said for my father, but as loving as he was, waking him from sleep was almost impossible. Waking me, on the other hand, was no trouble at all, thanks to the nightmares. A hook hangs from the wall. A piece of meat hangs to dry on it.